Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Arun. I'm a life and a leadership coach, and in this video today I'm going to talk about situational interview questions. Well, let me repeat, we are going to talk about situational interview questions. I'm sure you will agree that at any interview that you go, apart from the basic questions about tell me about yourself, tell me about your strengths, most of the interviewers who are smart interviewers, they would definitely ask questions which are situation based. And why do they ask these questions? They ask these questions because they want to understand your strengths, your experience, your expertise, your thought process, your behaviors. Everything will come out once you start answering questions which are situation based. Therefore, it is very, very important that if you really want to crack the interview, this is that piece of interview or that stage of interview where how you answer the question is going to decide and define whether you are fitting the required competency of a given role and are you really looking forward for this job. At the same time, on the other side, the interviewer is also viewing you that are you the right fit? Are you meeting those competency standards? Do you have that thought process? Have you done that particular task in the past? And do you have that expertise, experience, and the right behaviors which are relevant for the position? And if you can do that, you're there. So in this video, I'm going to take you some 11, let me tell you, 11 those questions which are definitely going to come in one or the other stage of an interview if you are aspiring right now. So I want you to listen to these questions very carefully. I want you to also look at the solutions that I'm going to suggest in this interview. But let me give you a caution. You need to do your own answers based on your own examples in the past. Now, what is very important in this video is you will get to know the secret of how to answer those situational based questions, how to answer those, how to give an answer in a way that the interviewer will just say, wow, you are my candidate. And this is what I'm going to tell you, promise. But before that, don't forget to click on the subscribe button on my channel and stay tuned. Let's meet and let's talk more about this. Well, the most common method that a lot of people use while answering these situational based question is called as the STAR method. I'm sure you would have heard that STAR method, which is an age-old method. S stands for situation, T for task, A for action, and R for results, which means you need to narrate a situation, then the task that you did and the actions that you did to meet those tasks, and finally what was the result. Well, that's a very standard method, and if you are comfortable, you can use that. But I have given a modified analogy to that, and I think that the new thing that I believe is called as the storytelling. Now, if you know how to tell it in the form of a story, the situation that you are going to narrate, you are going to make things easier and you are going to make things simpler for the person who is sitting on the other side. So what you have to do? In storytelling, you simply have to think about the central character. The second thing is the kind of challenges this character faced and how he brought the resolution to those challenges. And finally, what was the learning of it? Now, in this interview, because you're going to be thrown upon certain situations, you are the central character. What did you went through in your experience, in your job, different challenges and situations that came to you? What kind of challenges were thrown in those situations? And how did you brought the resolution to those challenges? This is what you have to answer. Now, how you can make it more simple is up to you. Now, if you want to learn more about it, you can visit my another video on YouTube, how to make stories and how to tell stories. Well, let's come back to the most important point, that is, which are those situations which are most frequently asked in the interview. I'm going to take you there, and what to say in the first place is something that is very interesting, and I want you to learn that. The first question that comes to my mind is, tell me about a time when you failed and how did you handle it? Well, the intention behind asking this question by the interviewer is to see that have you faced any adverse situation, and number two, do you take the responsibility of your actions. And finally, what did you learn from that mistake or from that failure? So what example that right now coming into my mind, that I was little new in my career. It was just 3 months into my job, and I was in the business of selling medicines. And I was along with my boss inside a customer place, and I was talking about one of the new products that we had launched. I was very excited about the product. I was telling immediately when the customer asked that can this product be used in a particular set of patients, without having a clue in my mind, just immediately I said yes, it can be used. While luckily my boss was sitting next to me, he just pressed my hand and he clarified that this product cannot be used. Well, at that moment, the query was solved. And when we moved out of the customer's cabin, my boss fired me left, right, and center. He said, you would have actually created a disaster not only for the company, but also you were playing with the lives of the patient. How can you do that? I can never forget that moment when my boss fired me, because more than his firing, I was internally feeling a guilt that without having complete knowledge, I was giving an answer. That was the biggest learning of my life, that I will never visit a customer place without going through the complete details of my product, because ultimately it's about patients, it's about safety, it's about my customer, it's about my company. Now, well, if you can answer something like this, it clearly shows that you are very well versed with the situation and your learnings are lifelong learnings. Let's move to the second question. Tell me about a time when you had to work closely with people that you didn't go along with well, and how did you manage to work along with? Now, this question is intentionally asked, that how do you manage conflict, or how do you work with people, and what is your way of collaboration? And most importantly, what did you learn out from that experience? Now, what is very important is you really need to go back, think about it, your experiences. And generally, these experiences are that when you had to get into some project, or you are given a special assignment to work along with different people, with different departments, with someone who is a person of very high stature or a person of very high attitude sometime, and you are never comfortable. You have seen them from a distance, but now you are going to work along with them very closely. Now think about it, what happened at that time, because the more you are sharper about your own example, the better it would be. So I'll give you an example. So in my last role, I was given an opportunity to work on a project with a very senior director of the organization from the finance department, with whom I have never interacted. I was a little nervous that how this entire project will run, because we are going to work very closely with him. So I decided that in the first meeting itself, I will just go and have a one-on-one meeting with him. I will open up and I will ask for all his learnings and blessings in the entire project, which can help me to learn a lot throughout the process. And it really worked for me. The person on the other side, whom I thought that is a very high-headed, was actually very grounded. He made me comfortable. Rather, he was more upfront in saying that he is going to learn a lot from me in the sales, because he has never worked closely with salespeople. He has always been with numbers. And after the entire project got completed, we actually were not just colleagues, but we also have the good understanding and good relationship between us. And even now we are in good touch, though I have left that company, but we are in very good talking terms. Now, if you can think of something like this and if you can put it across, it clearly nails the whole issue, that you are a person who believes in collaboration. You are a person who can work with difficult and different set of peoples. This is what they will market when they are listening to your answer. Next question. What would you do if you are given a task that you have never done before? Now, it could be your potential boss who is asking this question, who wants to understand that are you up for taking new challenges independently? Or he may wants to understand that are you an initiator? Do you take initiatives? Or that you are a person who has excellent problem solving skills. Now think about an answer or a situation when you had to face it. So I'll put it something like this, that Yes, I have a situation when my boss entrusted me with a task that I had to go out and make trophies for the winner for the annual award function. I have never done this task. It was never a part of my KRA or the key result area. But since this task was given, I was very excited and I was very upbeat. Though having no clue, I went out, I searched Google, I found out what are the options available near to my office, and I started exploring one by one. And finally, after 2 days, I was able to nail on the right person who is expert in making trophies and certificates and other such products. I met him. I was able to bring on the right set of trophies for the award function that my boss has asked for. Now it clearly shows that you're a person who has high result orientation, who would not look at situations that how you got bogged down. Rather, you will look at those conditions that you create those situations from where you can bring out results, even if the situations were not in your favor. So think about such examples, and that can really enlighten the person on the other side that you are the right person for him. Next question. Tell me about a time when you had to work under tremendous pressure, and how did you handle it? Well, the intent behind asking this question is to see that can you work under tremendous pressure? Can you deliver results even when the situations are not in your favor? Well, think of some example. So let me give you one example that it was the year-end closing and I was managing the government business, and there was a business of around 1 crore that was supposed to come from one of the government department. Everybody was hoping that with this one order, we will not only achieve our targets, but we will also do our annual budgets and we will win the MD trophy for the given year. As the month began, everybody was looking their eyes on me that I will bring that order and we will get it built as soon as possible. But first, the first deadline of 10th of the month passed, then the 20th of the month passed, and the pressure was increasing rapidly because it is the government department. It is not in your hand that you can just go and take the order. Only when the file is cleared, when it is signed by all the authorities, only then the order will be passed. I was really tense and under tremendous pressure because of me. This, not only that we were going to miss such a big opportunity of meeting the budgets, but also our region is going to lag behind across the country. I made sure I went down to the departments. I met everybody right from top to bottom to see that the file is signed at every stage. And I took the help of my distributor, who also went along with me shoulder to shoulder to see to it that we get the order. And I was lucky that on 27th of the month, we finally got the order and we billed it just on the last day of our business closing. So with this, not only that our team was on budget, but we also became number one all over the country. However, this situation told me that there are times when things are not in your favor, things are not happening as per your task, but you should never lose hope. You should never lose the confidence that you have on yourself. And that's it. Now, if you can answer something like this, I can tell you the person on the other side will be flattened because he knows that you have been into that situation. Question 5. Describe about a time when you had to impress your customer. How did you do that? What did you do to make sure that your customer is highly impressed and was supporting you? Well, the intent behind this question is that how do you do and serve your customer? Do you have those customer service skills? Do you have the ability to go and beyond to help the customer, to win the customer? Now, if you can share some example, it will really create a huge impact in the mind of the interviewer. So let me give you an example. So I had one customer in my list who was the most sought after customer by the entire industry. I knew that if this customer would start using my product, I can easily meet my targets. I was meeting him for the past 6 months, but there was no result. In this meeting, I thought that I will really convert him to my product. So I went with all the details of the product. I showed him all the studies, relevant experiences by other doctors, by other customers, and the customer was not convinced fully. But he gave me a clue that if there are some studies which have been done abroad, and if he can speak to the customer on the other side of the world who can share his first-hand experience, probably he can get some confidence in using this new product. And that was it. Once I knew what exactly he was looking for, I went back, I connected my marketing team, I connected my medical team, and with their help, I was able to connect to one of the topmost customer in the US markets. And within 2 weeks, I was able to arrange a video call between my customer and the customer who was sitting in the US. And that call happened for almost 90 minutes, where the US customer shared a lot of data, a lot of science, a lot of cases in which he has been able to cure patients by using those products. And there was no looking back. From that day onwards, this customer was fully convinced in using my product. And slowly and steadily, I saw that he started using my product in certain group of patients, and the business started to happen. And within 6 months from the time that I did that call, my targets were overshooting like anything. Now think about some example like this. You will be able to bring on the key points. So the important thing in this answers is that you need to be very specific with date, with time, with the name of the customer, name of the account, and then you will see that your example is becoming very specific. It cannot be just generic. Just think about it. Question 6. What accomplishments you are most proud of in your career, and how did you achieve them? Well, the intent of this question is very clear, that the interviewer wants to know what you are passionate about and what are your topmost achievements in your career. Now, it all depends upon how you answer it. So always remember, highlight something very significant that has happened in your career. Don't talk about very small things. Something where you have been rewarded for, something where you have been recognized for. So think about those examples. So for example, if I have to put it something like this, I'll say that as a manager, when I joined my new territory and I was given the task to revive the entire performance, and the moment I joined my location, I met the entire team. I reviewed their performance through their performance appraisal and last 3 years sales trend. I found that a lot of people are below productivity. I spend time with each one of my teammates at least 2 to 3 days for the next 3 months. That helped me to understand what are their strengths, what are their areas of improvement, and what are the hurdles that they are having ahead in achieving the expected task. Once I knew all these things clearly, I created a plan. I shared my vision with them. I helped them to achieve those smaller tasks and rewarded them time to time based on the work that they have delivered. This really motivated my team, and within no time, we saw that people were highly involved in work. They were delivering results. And by the time we ended the year, we achieved 110%. The productivity was at par at the national level, but some of my teammates were doing exceedingly on the top of the benchmark that was required in the organization. Now think about something like this, who doesn't want to hire such a person who has this thought clarity, that how he revived the entire team, how he revived the performance, how he revived his people, how he revived the entire energy in the team. Everybody wants to hire them. So think about those significant achievements that are highly proud in your career path. Question number 7. Tell me about a problem you observed and how did you solve it? Well, the intent behind asking this question is very obvious, that they want to see that do you have problem solving skills, but at the same time, do you have an eye on the problem? Do you have the ability to take initiative in identifying problems, solving problem, and also giving a better solution? So you have to really think about some situation which has worked for you. So I'll give you one example. So when I was a manager, I was told that my region is lacking behind in reporting on the online reporting platform. People were not reporting on time. There was a great delay, and nationally we were at the bottom. Now, when I asked about my direct reports, that why their people are not sending the reports on time, or they are not logging in the reports on time, I was told that they have been following up, they have been telling the team on a timely basis with regular reminders, but the situation is not changing. On the other hand, they also complain that they are already workloaded and how much more that they can do and follow up on this. And we were all worried about this set of problem that we were all facing. At that point of time, I realized that we have to really turn this around. And then I asked my direct reports that they need to nominate one person in their team who is right now fully performing, who is high on skills, who is high on attitude, and who is high on performance. And then we delegated the task to each of those person in each of my managers team, that it is their responsibility that every week they will monitor the reporting status of the entire team, and they will report back to their line managers, who in turn will report back to me. Now, when we started this initiative, it really brought a lot of turnaround, because on one hand, they were very satisfied and happy that one of their teammates is in touch with them. Secondly, I also made my people realize that how delegation of work helps in encouraging people to do more out of their current work. So this way, we not only solve the problem, but we also created more managers or more succession plan by doing the delegation work. And that's where my managers also learned that by delegating, they were able to free up their time to do more strategic work. Now think about something like this. Think about an example which is going to work in your favor, and the interviewer is definitely going to get impressed about it. Describe a difficult situation or an interaction that you had with one of your customer, and how did you resolve it? Well, the intent behind asking this question is that how do you manage conflicts? Again, how good you are as a problem solver, and how good are your customer service skills? Well, think about a situation where you had a really tough time with a customer. So I'll give an example, something like this, that it was the month end and the orders were dispatched for the entire region, and I had one of the very important customer who was supposed to receive a consignment for his next morning patient for the wound dressing, and everything was all set. While I just received a message from my customer late in the night at around 9 p.m. that his shipment is not in the dispatch list, and it really made me worried. And he was just shouting on me that if this shipment is not going to deliver in the morning, it will be difficult for him to treat his patient. Not only about the patient service, but he will miss out on his delivery commitment to the patient who is going to come next morning. I rushed back to the depot. I just checked the entire dispatch list again, and I found that his packet was just lying with the delivery note. I just was mad that how this was possible. I just took the packet on my own. I booked an Uber. I ran. I covered the entire distance of 150 kilometers. I reached early morning to my customer. I handed over the packet to him, ensuring that his patient is not missed. Though the customer was very angry with me that how come this mistake has happened, when they know that the requirement was so important. I apologized and I said that this is not going to happen ever again. Well, that was not an easy conversation, and the customer discontinued our contract. This was a very bad situation, because it was just a communication or a mechanical error due to which his dispatch was not done. But that gave me a learning that I need to be a little more vigilant, and probably add one more person in my team whose job is to manage and look after the entire order dispatch from every time to time. Now think about some examples like this. It is like a story that you are telling to the interviewer, that how the entire episode has happened. If you can put across your learnings, you would be able to give the real message that you have went through that situation and you had those skills. You went out of the way to ensure that your customer is delivered the product, even though he has discontinued the contract. But the important thing is that you have a learning out of this, that what all you're going to make. And this is what they want to know. This is what the interviewer want to see, that do you have that capability to solve the problems. Give me an example of a difficult decision that you had to make and what steps were involved. I'm sure you will agree that every interviewer wants to hire somebody who is a good decision maker, who is a risk taker, and who can take decisions on time. Now, what is important is that you need to highlight what are the steps that are involved in that difficult decision making process. So think about some situations when you had to really take a tough decision. So I'll give you an example. So I was a project lead and I had the experience of leading the projects and bringing out the best quality of the work that is required to be done. But my experience also tells me that while delivering the quality with a head-on deadline is always very difficult. In my last project, there was a challenge that I delivered a project on time, but I had to compromise on quality. Now, when I was handling this new project, I spoke to my entire team about the timelines and the quality, because one of the important aspects of our organization value is excellence. So I went back to my boss. I told him that we need to really push the deadline ahead of his schedule because we really have to deliver the quality. In many times when we try to meet the deadlines as per the time given, the quality is compromised. But this time I was very clear out of my experience that come what may, we are going to deliver only quality. And with that request of extended deadline, I was able to deliver a project which was of high quality, which was liked by my client, though the date was delayed, but in the end, everybody appreciated that. So think about something like this that has happened in the past. It can be a difficult situation or a decision when you had to lay off somebody. How difficult that was, why you had to choose him. Think about such examples and you will be able to come out with flying colors in your answer. The question is, tell me about a time when you had a disagreement with your boss and how did you manage it? Well, the interviewer is very keen to understand that you as a candidate, that how do you manage conflict not only with your peers but also with your superiors. Are you a yes man or are you a man of your own opinion and do you take some stand? Now it all depends now how you are going to explain certain situations that you have went through and how did you overcome that. So let me give you an example. So it was the beginning of the year and we were all making our goals for the year, and my boss told us during the meeting about one of the goal that this year was a must for them for a win strategy. And the moment I saw that goal, I realized that with my experience it is going to be very difficult because I had the customer feedback and they were not in favor of that. After the meeting was over, I went to my boss. I explained him all the data points that particular piece of goal is not going to be achieved because the research is not suggesting that. Plus, my own experience was saying that this is not going to be achieved. I made him understand. I took him to the clients. I made him listen through the interviews, and finally he agreed and he withdrew that piece of the goal from the entire goal sheet. Now that gave me a lot of satisfaction, and finally my boss also thanked me for flagging this up. Otherwise he would have taken that goal and later it would not have been attainable. So think about this example, that you were able to say no to your boss, but with a lot of logic, with a lot of planning, with a lot of research. Well, if you can answer these questions in such a systematic way, with the story format, with the character, that is you in the center, the challenges that you faced, and finally the resolutions that you brought and what learning did you get out of it, you can really nail any interview in this world. Because the person on the other side wants to know you, your thought process, your experience, your expertise, and once you are able to narrate it in the form of story with your own examples which has happened in the past on different situations, you are definitely gonna crack it. Well, I believe you would have learned a lot in this session, and feel free to contact me on my email ID arun.thukral@hcnconnect.in. If you have any doubts or if you are planning for an interview, you can approach me for a one-on-one session which I can help you to prepare well. Thank you very much for watching me, and don't forget to like and subscribe this channel with your friends. See you soon with a new topic.